Hello everybody, and welcome to another video on Jurassic World Evolution, the new Jurassic Park Tycoon game set to be released for the PC, PS4, and Xbox One by Frontier Developments for the summer of 2018. A lot has been said about what the gameplay for Jurassic World Evolution will be like, as well as its potential roster of creatures. But today, I want to discuss the major things I think have been left unsaid about the game, or more precisely, the gameplay aspects we don't know about for whether or not they will be included. I believe these unmentioned aspects about Jurassic World Evolution are going to be important in predicting whether or not this game achieves popular acclaim and has a long, fruitful lifespan. Without them, I think that Jurassic World Evolution will still be a cool game to play or make videos on, but it will only be attractive for like a few months or so. Although all games eventually lose their luster, and people constantly move on to newer games, I believe there are ways that Jurassic World Evolution's development team can help to lengthen their game's lifespan. Ultimately, I hope to identify things that Jurassic World Evolution's developers should pay attention to and make an effort to incorporate. Of course, I'm not a developer myself, so despite my best efforts to do otherwise, I might be saying things that are completely unrealistic for what the developers can achieve in the time they have left, so I apologize for that from the start. Then again, maybe I'm making requests that are on the minds of other people, so maybe I can act as a voice for at least a small subset of Jurassic World Evolution's customer base. We'll see. Originally, I was going to make this video into one massive video that would have been over half an hour long. However, I think I want to try to get my point across in smaller chunks, and I think the opportunity has presented itself here. But as a disclaimer, the comments section for this video are disabled. You won't be able to give your thoughts down below, although you can still like or dislike away on it as you please. Instead, please direct your comments to the third video in this series, where I will hopefully have the comments section open for you to use. That video will be called Realists Guide to Jurassic World Evolution Unknown Inclusions Part 3. I'm doing this so that I can better keep track of comments and engage my audience more easily. This might be the only time I do this, so kindly let me know in the comments section, again, of the third video of this mini-series, if this system was too cumbersome or not. By the way, as a quick aside, you might have noticed that I've decided to rename my series as the Realists Guide to Jurassic World Evolution, rather than the Pessimist Guide. I think when I started these videos, I wanted a title that would be catchy to the eyes of the developers or viewers who might want a more serious discussion on what Jurassic World Evolution is and is not capable of. But really, do I need to be so pessimistic? Why can't I be more optimistic? In my defense, I think that I'm less of a pessimist and more of a realist, or basically someone who likes to stay grounded in facts and reality and not impractical, visionary speculations. I want to hit the mark on what this game is capable of so as not to give false hope for certain aspects of the game we will never see, but at the same time not discount certain wants and desires from the fan base either. Still, I want to thank a few commenters in my last video who helped to inspire me to do some soul searching and hopefully come up with a more accurate, slightly upbeat but realistic take on Jurassic World Evolution at this stage in the game. Anyway, let's get on with the video. The first thing that we have no idea about for whether or not it will be included is what I believe to be the most important: modding. Specifically, will we be able to mod the game so as to change the colors of the game's entities if not the actual models themselves? For instance, if you wanted a coloration scheme for Parasaurolophus that is more like what we see in Telltale's Jurassic Park game or the third Jurassic Park film, then you could go into a paint editor and make those skins. Even more so, let's say you got bored of good old Rexy here and wanted to add this hulking beast with all its spikes and colors. Basically, you could go into an editor, mess with the skin a little bit, and include it in your park, spikes and all, and perhaps even edit its stats to make it the fierce, beefy monster it's known to be. Could it perhaps be permissible to change the appearances of the buildings in Jurassic World Evolution so that we can make the dilapidated Innovation Center as seen in Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom's new trailer? I can imagine a niche modder base that would want to do that, and I would certainly advocate for it too. But already we're getting worrying statements from Jurassic World Evolution that seem to suggest that we aren't going to be permitted modding. Nick Rogers, the head of animation for Jurassic World Evolution, in an interview with YouTuber The Gaming Beaver, whose link you will find in the description, talked about how players would be able to, I quote, slightly tweak the dinosaurs. However, in the next breath he says, and we don't want to go all the way to, kind of, making completely new customizable dinosaurs. To his credit, he does say that players can edit the behavior and appearances of the dinosaurs slightly through an in-game mechanic later in the interview, and he even gives praise to the modders of JPOG by saying that it's great to see that passion still out there, and that hopefully the game he's working on will impress them. However, his previous statement is still very scary from a modder perspective, simply because we may not have the ability to mod the models and overall game like I would want. But doesn't modding seem like a little bit too much access to the video game? Isn't the game itself enough? I would argue no, because 3 of the most notable zoo building games I can think of heavily rely upon modding for their success, namely Zoo Tycoon 1, Zoo Tycoon 2, and JPOG. Zoo Tycoon 1 had a thriving community of modders that created all kinds of skins and entities not present in the base game. I can personally attest to this since I was a prolific downloader of mods created for Zoo Tycoon 1 when I was younger. They even got to the point of including dragons in the game, such as this one from Symbion, whose link you will find in the description. But if you thought Zoo Tycoon 1 was impressive, you haven't seen what Zoo Tycoon 2's modders managed to create. For instance, I wanted to draw attention to the design team Aurora Designs, who took Zoo Tycoon 2's roster of animals and made many of them more realistic. The Asian elephant that was originally released for the game looks like a cartoon drawing compared to the one made by Aurora Designs. And I also can't forget to mention the designers on Zoo Tycoon 2 Round Table, who have managed to create everything from snakes to birds to dragons as well, in addition to numerous race skins. Look for their links in the description. As for JPOG, its community of modders has been around for a while. The oldest mods I could find were from 2006 or 2007. Yet even to the present, JPOG's modders have continued to add new stuff, including Indominus Rex from Jurassic World, as was made by the creators of the Forgotten mod. Most notably, some JPOG modders have managed to mod the skins of JPOG's dinosaur roster to reflect entirely new skins, such as those of Jurassic Park Advanced Operation Genesis. I mentioned them in my last video, but as a recap, they basically figured out how to add new, crisp models that are of immensely good quality and which can be wrapped around the base game's dinosaur rigs. In the future, I would not be surprised if JPOG's modders continue to incorporate dinosaurs that would be seen in Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom and other future films, including Baryonyx and Carnotaurus. Again, this is a game made in 2003, yet modders have helped to keep the game alive long after it was published, and this is the exact same fate that I want for Jurassic World Evolution to have. I think there are a lot of advantages for Jurassic World Evolution to permit modding to the game. First and most importantly, it extends a game's lifespan. In my experience, most single-player games have a maximum number of features and experiences for players to do and interact with before the actions of the player begin to become repeat versions of said features and experiences. Take for instance the game Skyrim, which has a vast world to explore, a main storyline to follow, and numerous side quests to do. But in time, these missions will be accomplished and most of Skyrim's world will be explored, assuming the player doesn't get bored of missions that might become repeat versions of one another. However, Skyrim has one of the most notable modding communities ever known, and that's a fact even acknowledged by the game's creator Bethesda. New types of armor, races, and missions are the typical fare of Skyrim's modding community. In the case of Jurassic World Evolution, I can definitely see where a modding community would create new skins or even new models of dinosaurs for the game. For instance, modders could create dinosaurs whose coloration is true to those seen in JPOG, while others could create dinosaurs with feathers on them. It would be even more significant if Frontier Developments allowed modders to mod the game to the point that new missions and new types of behaviors could be created. For instance, this mod for JPOG created by random dinos on DeviantArt changes such features as the dinosaur's speed and basic needs to make them more realistic. It would be nice to be able to change such features for Jurassic World Evolution's dinosaurs too, and this would really give players a fresh new experience when they play the game. Another reason why I believe modding is up Jurassic World Evolution's alley is because Frontier Developments has already created a modder-friendly game in the form of Planet Coaster. The game permits you to build roller coasters in whatever way you like, as well as add all kinds of decoration and aesthetics for your roller coaster park. Not only has Planet Coaster created free downloadable content for gamers to access, but it too has a modding community that's been able to create new rides and new shops, among others. Although I'm not expecting this level of modding in Jurassic World Evolution, we should certainly have a portion of this. Modding would be beneficial particularly for a dinosaur game like Jurassic World Evolution, because it allows for modders to put new species and other assets in the game. In my previous video, I bemoaned the fact that Jurassic World Evolution's development team might make reskinned versions of dinosaurs we know are in the game, but are practically one and the same, such as Tyrannosaurus for that Parasaurolophus that we just saw, and Giraffatitan for Brachiosaurus. Modding helps to solve this problem because it helps to minimize the effort of the developers to make separate species whose only differences are in terms of their color and sound. Rather than waste time on skinning a different colored version of the same dinosaur, the developers can focus on creating new assets for the game. Pterosaurs and Mosasaurus, anyone? Although modding the colors and even the sounds of the dinosaurs would be nice to have for Jurassic World Evolution, I think we need to be able to redesign the dinosaur models themselves. This would really allow us to add more unique dinosaurs than what the developers have time for. For instance, I can imagine a situation where Tyrannosaurus is used as the basis to create many other theropod dinosaurs, including relatives like Tarbosaurus and Daspletosaurus, as well as fictional species like Bastatosaurus from Peter Jackson's King Kong, and the Alpha O9 Rex from Jurassic World the app game. Keep in mind, I'm not just talking about recolored versions of Rexy, but models with unique spikes and patterns not seen before. A similar scenario could happen with Jurassic World Evolution's building assets, where new amenities and structures could be designed to create a certain aesthetic for the park, such as specific types of restaurants or the dilapidated, broken down version of the village seen in Jurassic Park The Lost World. The possibilities are endless in my opinion, and there are probably other benefits about modding that I haven't even thought of, so if I missed one, please let me know in the comments section of the third video of this mini-series. Now, I want to attempt to address some valid concerns about the ability to mod a game like Jurassic World Evolution. First, I can imagine there being the risk of Frontier developments having to deal with copyrighted material being modded into their game. Two notable examples from other video games I can think of come to mind, the first of which is from Ark Survival Evolved, a survival game by Studio Wildcard where players face off against and tame a variety of dinosaurs and other creatures. This game has a thriving community of modders that are constantly adding new stuff to the game, and there are entire series on YouTube that cater to showing off these mods. However, one of the most notable mods ever created managed to incorporate monsters from another video game called Monster Hunter 3 Ultimate. To quickly summarize, Monster Hunter is a franchise of games produced by Capcom where players get to hunt a variety of monsters using a similarly varied number of weapons. Each monster has unique animations and tactics that require players to adapt to them individually. The last point is important because for Ark Survival Evolved, the Monster Hunter mod was so perfectly incorporated, even the animations specific to each monster were present, such as this Rathalos in the game. However, whereas most of the animals in Ark Survival Evolved remain near motionless when idle and have the most basic of attack animations, the complex organic idle and attack animations of the Monster Hunter creatures were vividly demonstrated. Of course, this was considered a flagrant theft of Monster Hunter's assets, and so Capcom ordered the removal of the mod from Ark Survival Evolved, much to the chagrin of the fanbase. Second, I can also think of the case with Creative Assembly's Total War series, in particular its Warhammer edition. The Total War series includes a number of turn-based, real-time tactical games where players control a nation set in a specific setting, usually based in history, and build up armies to then fight on battlefields against AI or players. Meanwhile, Warhammer was created separately by Games Workshop, and it was originally a tabletop game involving a number of unique models and fantasy races. However, Sega through Creative Assembly partnered with Games Workshop to create Total War Warhammer, which now includes 2 games where players can control a variety of factions, from traditional humans to orcs to elves to others, of which many have their own special creatures like dragons and trolls. Modding has been integral to this game, including new skins and new maps to fight on. However, unless I'm incorrect, one of the primary conditions that Games Workshop made to Sega and Creative Assembly was to allow no modding outside of the in-game assets. This is significant because in previous Total Wars, particularly Medieval 2 Total War and Total War Attila, it was possible to add assets so that entire mods based off of franchises like Lord of the Rings could be added, such as this one here for Medieval 2 and this one here for Attila. But in Total War Warhammer, while you can create a faction not present in the game like the Chaos Dwarves at the time of this video, using in-game assets, you'll never be able to see unique models like, say, Smaug the Dragon or Gondorian Knights. A third point I'll mention is the ability to steal copyrighted models from Jurassic World Evolution. I can imagine a scenario where, especially for the PC release of the game, someone could go into the code, steal the rigging and skins, and then port them over to a game, perhaps as either a mod for another game or a so-called indie game. While Frontier Developments would have every right to shut it down, it might be too late, and many models might find themselves in the wrong hands. There is one last consideration I must also mention. I had a great reminder in my previous video that Frontier Developments is working alongside Universal, and so they, the latter, own the rights to the Jurassic Park franchise. This is significant because it basically puts Frontier Developments in the same situation as Creative Assembly with Games Workshop for Total War Warhammer. Frontier Developments must ultimately take its cues from Universal, and so Universal might particularly have a stake in not permitting modding. For instance, I can imagine their hesitation to include modding to be due to the trouble that they could be landed into if copyrighted skins and models from other video games are ported into Jurassic World Evolution. They may also not want their dinosaurs to be modded because they are exclusive to the Jurassic Park franchise, and so Universal doesn't want some nefarious fate to befall their assets. Although one might argue that Universal didn't do this for JPOG, JPOG was created in 2003, and it's likely the case that profit is a much bigger priority to Universal than it was before. Ultimately, anything that could come out of modding that could hurt Universal's financial success will be seen as a danger, and so they will instinctively shut it down. So are there any solutions to the issues I've mentioned? I really think that Frontier Developments can take notes from the games I mentioned in addition to their own work with Planet Coaster in order to permit modding in the game. I think that the situation between Creative Assembly and Games Workshop embodies one of the better examples of how to include modding without too much modding. Although you can't bring unique models into the game from the outside, you can mod and change assets from the inside. You are even permitted a degree of flexibility in terms of painting the model's unique colors, as well as changing the sizes of certain models. Similarly, I think Jurassic World Evolution should permit at least this much flexibility. For example, I can imagine a case where a modder would take a Tyrannosaurus model, make it smaller, change its colors, and mod its behavior to reflect something like a Daspletosaurus. Again, I ask Frontier Developments and Universal to trust the modders to implement certain assets in the game that would otherwise tie down the developers needlessly. Of course, I would also ask that the developers trust us enough to mod the in-game models themselves and allow us to create new things from them, just as was permitted by the Zoo Tycoon series, JPOG, and Ark Survival Evolved. And in regards to the danger of stolen assets, I again assert that this would be a minor side effect, and we, the fanbase, would come to the game's defense. I honestly can't think of an instance of large-scale theft of models from games like JPOG or the Zoo Tycoon series, although kindly let me know if I'm wrong in the third video of this miniseries. Even when we see skins ported from one game to another, such as this mod from Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, we know it comes from JPOG, and as far as I know, there is no monetary stealing going on. But as this example demonstrates, it certainly seems possible, especially for the PC release of Jurassic World Evolution, that more nefarious forms of copyright theft might occur. However, I sincerely believe that people will quickly be able to spread the news that some modders or so-called indie developers are stealing the work of Jurassic World Evolution and will attempt to call them out or dissuade others from buying the ripoff. Because I feel like there are many people that already love and are passionate about Jurassic World Evolution, I ask that we channel our love for the game in order to protect it and give credit where credit is due. Again, this is an exercise in trust for both Frontier Developments and Universal toward its customer base, and I believe the ability to make a moddable, flexible game experience is going to go farther financially for both companies than if they turtle up and don't allow their assets to be modded. At the very least, I would want an explanation from they themselves as to why they can't implement modding, especially if it's the kind of system that Total War Warhammer has taken up. This would be better than dancing around the issue for fear of making Frontier Developments or Universal look bad. Openness is a good thing, but it is better if we, the customers, raise our voices in support of modding, if that's what we wish and it's not just me that's talking. I'm one to believe that there's still time to change this game's fate for the better, and modding will greatly assist in that. At last, we've come to the end of the first part of my 3-part series on the biggest things we have yet to hear be implemented into Jurassic World Evolution. Again, the comments section is closed for this video, but it will be open for the third video, so like and dislike away if you want, but if you have something to say, please go there. If it's not up, then I should be posting it soon. Again, thank you all for watching the video, and I'll see you all in the next part. Leo Venator signing out, and I wish you all a good one.